If you need an enema, just come to NFL Talk 'em across the pond and back, because we'll flush all that shit out of you. We're right here to talk about Week 10. A little late doing this video. It's Wednesday. Sorry about that. It was my fault. Dom, how are you today?
I'm allowed to talk now, right?
You're allowed to talk now. You're allowed to talk now. Unless you start boring us again, then I'm going to delete you.
So this show's going to be short then?
It's going to be a short show. It's going to be taller than Dom.
Well, that's not hard, but
that's what she said.
You
walked into
that.
Well, you walked into that, Dom.
I did. I was talking to two ladies today. I said I spent more time with you two this week than I have my own wife. They said, is she going to be worried? I said, I'm not romantic enough for one woman, let alone two. So there's no way she's going to be worried about it whatsoever.
So basically, what you're saying is you left three women disappointed in one day.
Yeah. Pretty much. I mean, I leave one woman disappointed every day.
Well,
why not extend it out, right?
They say the third's the charm. All right, we need to talk some football. We need to get into this because there's some things I want to discuss and there's some things I want to talk about here.
That's lucky because we've got a show, so we probably should discuss them.
We gotta go right to Green Bay.
Yeah,
Mr. Everything's icky in Green Bay. I don't want to go there. Everything's terrible and everything's icky. Well, Mr. Icky got COVID. And it's not a funny thing that he got COVID. It's just a funny thing that we're not going to get into his response for getting COVID and the whole vaccination thing, non-vaccination thing. But I do want
that went well for him.
Yeah, that answer went extremely well. I do want to talk about though his replacement. Or his lack thereof replacement, Jordan Love, 19 to 34, 190, one touchdown, one interception, 5 carries for 23 yards, scored a grand total of 7 points against the vaunted Kansas City Chiefs defense.
Is he still the worst in the league?
And they
shot up the rankings now.
And they still lost this game 13-7. Yowza. Patrick Mahomes, 20 for 37 for 166, one touchdown. I mean, come on, Dom. Two things. Is Jordan Love, you cannot, I guess, you can't focus solely on one game for Jordan Love, but he looked horrid. And Patrick Mahomes still is not looking good. What's going on with both these teams? Yeah, I know it's a win for Kansas City that jumped back up to 5-4. And I know Green Bay's still 7-2, but hopefully, I think for Green Bay's sake, that Aaron Rodgers comes back next week.
Yeah, well, he could be. He could. With him getting on the Wednesday, I think he would be eligible for Sunday if he tests positive.
He's got to have.
If he tests negative, I did mean negative.
Two negative tests in 24 hours. I think it is.
I meant positive from his point of view that he doesn't get it and then said the wrong one in my mind. But yeah, so he could be back, and you've got to hope for their sake that he is back. I mean, this wasn't the worst game of the week.
It was pretty bad.
I know. It still wasn't the worst game of the week.
It was still pretty bad.
It was a horrid game, and it wasn't even New York Giants. It wasn't the worst game of the week. So something to celebrate. But I mean, Jordan Love. I mean, it's one of those ones, isn't it? Like, to be
all fair, if Jordan Love put up these numbers in New York for the Giants, he would be a saint because they're better than Daniel Jones is. Yeah, you can't answer that one, can you?
No, there's a pun in there about love, but I can't be bothered. But I mean,
that's what
Jordan Love is it repeatedly. We've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Let's move on.
At least you got a t-shirt.
Right.
Come on, man. This is NFL talk, not Dom's sex life. Come on.
You keep fixating on it, not me. But yeah, I mean, Jordan Love, it's a mixed one, right? Because on one hand, it was a horrid game, like no question about it. And it was his first game in the NFL.
Yeah.
The other side of looking at is he has had 18 months learning from one of the best quarterbacks around. I mean, when he shows up for work, having missed the entire offseason, just, reminding everyone of one of my favorite subjects from early in the series. It wasn't a good game. It was a little bit worrying. You know, he wasn't putting the ball in the right places. It was a horrid game, as you say, not exactly against a top level defense. It wasn't great, and like I say, first game, fine, but it's first game having trained for 18 months, and that's got to be a worry if you're Green Bay. No wonder they were working so hard to try and keep Aaron Rodgers to the summer.
So is that your answer?
Yeah, that was my answer.
I don't know what the hell you were talking about.
Basically, I don't really know what to think of Love because, as I say, first game versus 18 months, you'd expect better. And it didn't happen, but it's also one game. It's like if you take one game, Mike White, what's his name, White from
Mike White
Jets last week. Yeah, he's MVP, right? I mean, so it's hard to make a judgment on that, but you do have to be worried if you're on that performance if you're Green Bay, and I imagine they are worried because they've not tried to put him out there at all at any point, even just to give spot Rodgers for a few reps in games they've won, and they're not putting him out there at all. And they'll be seeing him in training every day, and I imagine they're not overly impressed with what they see.
No, I don't think they are. I mean, it's going to be interesting now with the whole Aaron Rodgers contract and everything that's going up. I mean, the team is still 7-2. I mean, that's your backup, and your backup who's had a couple of years now on the bench does not look like he's ready for prime time.
No, exactly. I mean, like I say, Wayward for his first reads, there was almost nothing to sort of think, yeah, there's something there from that game.
Right.
Again, have to always caveat it with the first ever game, but it is worrying. I mean, in terms of the playoffs, there's no worry. You're 7-2. You're going to the playoffs. Rodgers should be back. But if he gets an injury,
you're gonna have to rely on the Love.
Yeah, and I know there's still some players missing, but what team hasn't got players missing?
Right.
And I think, actually, funny enough, that's what makes Green Bay so impressive this year, that I don't necessarily think they're deep. They've had a lot of injuries, and actually their next man has stood up for them. I mean, they've been playing their third choice left tackle for most of the year.
Yeah, they have.
But this is an area where ultimately you lose your first choice quarterback. If your backup ain't good enough, you ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking of my favorite subject and your favorite subject.
Very quickly on Green Bay, they need a new kicker.
Well, yeah. Yeah, they do, but we're not into kickers because
yet again they managed to balls up. They could have won that game. Either of those missed field goals.
I've said this a million times about kickers. There's the old joke, who hangs out with rock stars? And then the answer always is the drummer, So that's,
I have heard that before, but I know that.
To me, that's what kickers are. Kickers, they're good for one thing, and if they don't do that one thing, then that's it. It's like So I don't get into kickers. So just ask
Lambeau from the Jags earlier in the year.
Exactly. I want to talk about a game that's kind of screwy. And
this one wasn't.
No, this one's even screwier. It is Chicago Bears against the Steelers. The Steelers took this game 29-27. The Chicago Bears rolled up 21 points in the fourth quarter. Looks like they were marching to victory. Justin Fields in the last quarter and a half looked like a light switch went off on this kid's head. And it's almost like, they always have that adjective that the game slows down for players sometimes. When you're a rookie, you're seeing everything for the first time. It's so quick. For a quarter and a half for Justin Fields, it looks like the game slowed down. But then you have some of these calls that went – I'm not sure if the refs had money on – I don't know if the refs had money on the Pittsburgh, but did you see the one call where the guy got the 15 yards for bumping into the ref?
Yeah.
I mean, the poor guy was just trying to get around him.
I think the league's come out and defended that call today. I'm like, really?
It's like I mean. But besides that call, the wackiness of this all was the Steelers went ahead with the field goal towards the end of the game. The Bears didn't really march down the field, but they moved down the field enough to try a 65-yard field goal. The guy hit it strong. He hit it straight. He hit it a yard short. So
decent effort.
Pittsburgh survives another game. Big Ben like I said, looks like his demise was greatly exaggerated by you, is now have his team at 5-3. Now has his team at 5-3, and now the Bears have dropped down to 3-6, which is good for us because of the fact that that's jetting up our pick for the Giants. But talking about quarterbacks again, do you think from this game that maybe Justin Fields is kind of getting it now? He was 17 of 29 for 291, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, ran the ball 8 times for 45 yards. Again, if these were Daniel Jones's number, he would be an All-Pro, Hall of Famer. But it kind of looked like the game after that first half kind of slowed down for him, and it looks like he knew where he was leading his receivers. He was playing well. What do you think about the old Justin Fields connection here?
I mean, we both liked him coming out the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Both thought the fundamentals were there. And with rookies, it takes time. Just ask Trevor Lawrence, and he's coming into he's not exactly coming into a stellar team, right? He's not walking into Tampa Bay and going, "Oh, right, let's see what they've got."
Right, but the Bears have a good defense.
But which will help from some point. Field position, less pressure. You make a mistake, there's a good chance your defense will bail you out. But he's got Robinson to throw to, and that's pretty much it. But look, the lads, it's a game of two halves for him, and that it did seem to all click. We've both thought he's got the talent. I think he now has to build on that and keep it going forward. But it's still only season 1 for him. This was a really good performance from him, and I think if you're Chicago, you've got to be feeling pretty good right now that, you've got your guy at quarterback. Again, we can see sophomore slumps. We can see, when they got film, but he's unpredictable in his play. And that will make it slightly harder for teams to sort of.
That's what she said.
Are we back on that again?
Sorry.
But some of those throws were unbelievable. He seemed to be feeling the pressure when it was coming, seemed to know how to protect himself and what to do, and it just felt like he got it this game, as you say. And I think if you're Chicago, that's your positive at this moment, because you're 3-6, you're not going postseason, in all likelihood. So I think you feel positive. As for the Steelers, I still stand by my Big Ben comments. Was he as bad as maybe he was earlier? No, he's sort of a little bit more of the old Ben, but I still think the Steelers would have been better off moving on from him. This year or even last year. Last year's a bit harsh when you're 11-0, but I do think they should have moved on. I think they've missed a trick by that, and I think that will ultimately cost them. It will now take them longer to get to where they want to be as a result of holding on to Big Ben. So they might make the playoffs this year, but I still think they'll be in and around the 9-8, 10-7, which is good, but he's not the answer for them long term, and they should have moved on.
Oh, I agree. They should. This is his last hurrah. I'm gonna say this is it for Big Ben. But I want to go into a weirder game. Well, 2 weeks ago we had crappy games, but this week is the week of the strange.
I imagine the bookies with no idea what went on this week.
They had no clue. Jacksonville Jaguars. With a
worst game of the week.
With a grand slam in the 9th inning, beat the Buffalo Bills 9-6. Josh Allen is demolished by Josh Allen. It's
the old Spider-Man meme where they're all staring at each other. Right?
It's the whole Josh Allen fiasco. Josh Allen, of course, was the rookie out of Kentucky. Not a rookie. He's third year player now, defensive lineman / linebacker, who went to the Jacksonville Jaguars after the Giants whiffed on not picking him. He went number 7. Daniel Jones went number 6. He controlled this game from the outset. He stymied in some ways the other Josh Allen. With his, I think he had 8 tackles, 1 sack, 2 tackles for losses, and a pass defense and an interception. And he helped the Jags actually win another game, going now 2-6. Urban Meyer seemed to have gotten away, kind of went away from Trevor Lawrence. He only threw the ball 26 times, and he kind of played a ground and pound defense game. But the funniest thing of all, and I think of the king of the idiots, is now New England is only a half a game out of first place behind the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo looked like they were going to run away with this division, but you hear New England, Knocking on the door. What's going on in Jacksonville, man? They've now won like 2 out of the last 3. Their defense is playing well. And
even more bizarrely, they won a game in the States.
Exactly. Usually they only win overseas. But what the hell is going on in Jacksonville?
I mean, they still suck.
Well, yeah, they still suck, but they've only won 1 less game than the Giants, and they're going to the playoffs.
You kill me.
Not literally,
but no. Thankfully, there's a whole ocean.
Don't worry, I can swim.
It's all right. I'll give it a few weeks. I'll be all right. It's like I saw something earlier in the week. It was like a shark can definitely outswim me, but I can definitely outrun a shark. So in a triathlon, it's all coming down to who's the better cyclist. But what was I going to say? I mean, this was a horrific game, but we've been saying for weeks with the Jags, try and control the clock a bit more, take the pressure off,
right,
and try and run the ball. No, you missing your first round pick running back from this year, but it's not like you've got a terrible running back option still there. It was sensible. It was a smart thing to do. Allow Thor to adapt a little bit more. Makes sense. A really good win for them. Terrible for the Bills, as you say. I've been saying for weeks. I think the Pats' second half of the season historically start to come back into it. I still think the Bills will take the division. I think this was a bad result for them, but they are 5-3.
Yeah,
you wouldn't have been expecting there the first week. Okay, anything can happen, but this is a gimme game. This is a game they should be winning.
Right, this is a game they should win
with their eyes closed, with one hand tied behind their back, and they couldn't come up with it. You're right, Josh Allen, as in the defensive Josh Allen, great game from him. And signs of life for Jacksonville. They were always going to have a tricky season. I think we probably got a little bit carried away with them in the summer because it's sort of the feel good story. But it's again, there's something you can pin your hat on if you're a Jags fan, right? Oh, sorry, Jaguars. I know how you love me saying that.
Jaguars.
Jaguars.
Or Jaguar.
Which ironically is my son's house at school, but there we go. Yeah, I mean, there's positive things you can start to get behind in Jacksonville and start to be optimistic about for the future. I'd love to know how that feels.
Yeah, I know. So that's your.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you think of that game. I mean. Would you be concerned if you were a Bills fan right now? Because if I'm honest, they were my preseason pick for the Super Bowl.
I'm concerned that the Patriots.
I'm not changing that right now.
I'm concerned that the Patriots are only a half game back. Miami has won another game, and their schedule is not difficult. In some regards, I would be concerned in Buffalo. You go and lose to a bad, I don't want to call them a bad team. Yeah, they're a bad team. You lose to a bad Jacksonville team who is depleted of talent, and you're supposed to be one of the front runners to go deep into the playoffs and potentially into the Super Bowl, and then you throw up a stinker in Jacksonville? I'm concerned.
They've thrown up a stinker. It's not the first time they've thrown up the stinker.
Exactly.
That's the concern.
That is the concern. Who did they lose to the first game of the season? They lost to Miami. No, New England. Yeah. No, New England lost to Miami.
New England lost to Miami.
That's
right.
Right.
They lost to someone horrific. But
yeah. So I mean,
it wasn't the Texans, but it was someone like the Texans.
It was someone like I can't remember who it is, but it's not a good. It's not a good 9-game start for Buffalo right now, or 8-game start.
No. I agree.
I want to go into a game that is interesting because one team is in a free fall. One team was in a free fall. They potentially removed a cancer from the team, and they put up 41 points. That's the Cleveland Browns 41, the Cincinnati Bengals 16. They, of course, OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr., was released by Cleveland. And immediately what happens is the Cleveland Browns, who had problems scoring points, put up 41 points. And then Cincinnati, who looked good for a little while, has kind of hit a bump in the road. So my question to you is: Cleveland back on the rise, and is this an aberration for Cincinnati that they were going to the playoffs and now they've kind of fallen back to what we thought the Bengals would be this preseason?
I think it'd be both. I think with the Bengals, I think if you take them first, I think we were all surprised with where they were. They were at one point the number one seed in their conference. I don't think anyone saw that coming. So I think them falling back a little bit is not a surprise. I think it's where they are. But I think we said it, a couple of weeks ago. You have to give them credit for where they were. They did really, really well to get there. Again, it's a franchise that you think with Joe Burrow there and Jamal Chase, if you can get a good line and add a few pieces around the team on both sides of the ball, it's a side going in the right direction. And you've got to be optimistic. But this season is, going to the playoffs is dream world stuff for them. Like, it's amazing. If they go to the playoffs, it's the feel good story of the year and, coach of the year and what have you for them. But, it would still be, it's not out of the question, but it would still be a surprise. And, it would be a monumental achievement for them. If they're getting in, they're going to sneak in as a wild card, but I don't necessarily think they will. But but at the same time, this week they played the Browns side, and let's be honest, the Browns have been underachieving to some extent of late. I don't think it has anything to do overly to do with Odell Beckham leaving. Nice coincidence for them. Nice story if you're a journalist, but they're not a bad side. I still worry about them when they're behind and how they come from behind when they've got 2 minutes to go down the field and they've got to score. I worry about them from that point of view, but they're a very, very good side. Very good side. And again, it would be a shock if they don't go. For them, it would be a shock if they don't go to the playoffs. And this is not a surprise. The surprise result is that they've been playing badly and the Bengals have been playing well. But you look at this game on paper and you go, well, it's a Browns win all day long, and they delivered.
They did. I want to jump into the New England Patriots. 24-6 over the free-falling Carolina Panthers, who I believe got back Christian McCaffrey the other day. So his presence wasn't really felt with the 14 carries for 52 yards, 3.7 yards a carry. I mentioned this before previously, of course, that the New England Patriots now is a half game out of the lead for the AFC East. 24-6. I mean, again, Mac Jones does what he needs to do to get a win. 12 of 18, 139, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Again, if he's Daniel Jones, these are Hall of Fame numbers. Carolina just looks like the wheels didn't just fall off the bus. The engine fell off the bus. The windows fell off the bus. The sides of the bus fell off the bus. There is no bus. It's like one of those cartoons where it's like the Wacky Racer cartoon when someone puts a chain on behind the car and all of a sudden the whole engine and body leaves and all that's left there is the frame. That's kind of what it seems like what's happening right now for the Panthers. I mean, is there any way that the Panthers at 4-5 can turn this around with how badly the offense is playing?
Are they 4-5 or 5-4? I thought they were 5-4.
No, the Panthers are 4-5. The wonderful New England Patriots are 5-4.
Fair news. I couldn't remember which way around the Panthers were. I mean, I just have visions of Wile E. Coyote with them, that Sam Darnold sort of running off a cliff and just keep on running before sort of putting up the sign that says, oh no. And then,
you know what's funny though? New England started the season 1-3. Now they won 4 out of their last 5.
It doesn't surprise me. I think Mac Jones' ceiling is low, but he was always going to hit the ground running, particularly in where he landed, and I think quarterbacks with less talent than him, with far more talent than him, have made let me start again. God, I'm tired. Quarterbacks with far more talent than him have not made it in the NFL, partly because of where they've landed. He's landed in a good spot with the right coach that fits his play, and you're seeing the benefits of it. He's not going to set the world alight, but he will do enough to win games. We saw it. He didn't play that well actually this week. But they still won the game, and you could argue Carolina lost the game, but he did, like you say, he did what he needed to do. With Carolina, I'm assuming Sam Darnold thought he was playing the week before and it was Halloween, and then Ghost came back because I just love that, and he's never. Well, yeah,
he did see the Ghosts against New England.
Yeah,
it's the ghost. New England, right? It's the ghost of New England's past.
Yeah, Bill Belichick must have been looking at going, Sam Darnold, that's from the
Sam Darnold, that'll work.
Yeah, do whatever you want, boys. It's fine. It's going to be no issue. Christian McCaffrey coming back. I think that will help them. I think it's one of those ones where you're coming back from an injury. It will take a game, maybe 2, to get him back. I think that will help Sam Darnold. But Sam Darnold's playing for career right now, and it's not looking good for him. There was the Deshaun Watson trade rumors going around. I didn't think that was likely to happen in any shape or form with anyone before the trade deadline, and it didn't. I like to talk about it because it's fun, but, and I didn't think it was going to happen with Carolina, certainly at that point. But, those rumors, same with Tua in Miami, they're not exactly going to inspire confidence, and he's a man that's not playing well, and he's on the hot seat.
Yeah.
Like I said, I had them sort of as a wild card potential, sort of that sort of hot take, if you like, as a playoff team, and an interesting sort of outside pick. It's not out of the question if Darnold can find that early season form again. But I think he's going to have to, or else he's a goner.
Yeah, I know. I mean, to me, he should be a goner now. I mean, but they have PJ Walker backing him up, so they have nobody backing him up.
I was going to say, he's going to have to play, right? You can't not play him. And there's rumors that he's week to week now as well, which isn't going to help. But I wonder if that's a little bit of PR machine to try and take the heat off, rather than fact. We'll find out on Sunday. But
we hope. I want to talk about another.
What do you think it means for Matt Rule there as well? Second year head coach.
He's got a large contract with Carolina. They're not getting rid of him.
I don't think so either.
I mean, if he finished the season 7-10, he's not going anywhere. I mean, it's been a rebuilding process for them. They showed improvement. Honestly, it's the quarterback which is the issue right now, and if they can fix their quarterback issues, maybe via the draft. I mean, I don't think, like I said, I don't see him going anywhere.
I don't either. I think they'd be crazy to move on from him. I mean, stranger things have happened, but there was talk this week about, is it the coach that's called Sam Darnold? I was like, no, Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold just sucks.
He's had history. He doesn't have a great mechanics. I thought the change of scenery might do for him, might do him good, and it did certainly early days. It was looking like an inspired prediction, but it's looking less inspired with every passing week.
Well, for a game that was inspiring, 17-9, the 2-7 Dolphins over the 1-8 Houston Texans. Oh, it's funny. This is a game. Jacoby Brissett, 26 of 43, 244, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. But the running back Myles Gaskin for the Dolphins ran the ball 20 times. Do you know where I'm going with this, Dom? I'm hoping that there's a headline out there. Ran the ball 20 times. How many yards do you think he got running the ball 20 times?
I mean, you've got to be looking at least 65, 70 yards, but I don't know how many he did.
34 yards at 1.7 yards a carry. The Miami team decided
he blew a gasket, right?
He blew a gasket.
There's the headline that no one would have come up with.
Hold on. Still got this cough. He blew a gasket, and it just killed me because Miami figured out, okay, their defense kind of started playing well. And of course you are playing the Texans, so you're going to get well quick, but they had something like 5 or 6 sacks or something like crazy like that. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it was just one of those games. I watched part of this game. It was a bad game to watch. It's kind of a game you thought Miami was going to win. And
you'd like to think
you think they were going to win, especially after they beat New England the first game of the season. So they are 2-7. And I was laughing about Miami because I went back and looked at what's happening to them. If they lost the overtime game earlier in the season. So if they would have won that, they would have been 3-6. They dropped the game, of course, to Jacksonville. If they would have won that, they would have been 5-4. And then they all had another game where they lost towards the last minute of the game. They could potentially be, they could potentially be a team that was 5-4 right now. And watching this game, and I know it's against the Texans, but they seem to have a resurgence in some type, with their defense. They kind of played the way we thought they would play. They had 5 sacks. They had, so it was interesting to see everyone finally getting involved, and maybe Brian Flores is starting to push the right buttons defensively. They just need to figure out what they're going to do on the offense.
Yeah, I mean, they don't trust Tua, right? I mean, you're exactly right.
Well, Tua's still hurt.
Yeah, I know, but they still don't trust him, and I don't think that sends the right signals for your offense if you're going, we don't trust the quarterback. You know, and he's meant to be, I know he's not a captain, which is unusual, but he's meant to be the leader of your team, but the signals are all saying, hey, as a coaching staff, we don't trust him. You know, there's all the rumors about who they're in for. They don't trust him in the clutch, etc., etc. But I think you're right. This is a team that is not as bad as 2-7. It's a team I thought would finish third in this division. It will finish third in this division. But it's not a 2-7 team. It's somewhere around a 500 team at this point. That's where it should be. And this is a game where, from a Miami point of view, you'd like to think this is just giving us the confidence. Yes, you should win this game because the Texans suck. Not quite as much as the Lions, but they suck. I had someone say this week that Tyrod Taylor's back. That's going to be good news for the Texans, and they're going to win this game because Tyrod Taylor's back. I mean, if you're thinking Tyrod Taylor is going to win you the game, you know, no offense to him, but if you think he's the missing ingredient, you're watching the wrong game. But you know, it's a win they needed. They haven't won since week 1. They needed this win, and it was a good time. They could have done with playing the Texans a couple of weeks ago.
Oh yeah, that would be nice if they played Texans every week.
They're a side shorn of confidence, and they've looked it. And like you say, they grew into the game, got more confidence, and if they can roll that over into next week, they'll start to pick up those wins, and they'll start to win those games that they've been losing.
And you know, it's funny.
I believe we call it giant syndrome.
I don't think
finding a way to lose.
I don't think they're going to the playoffs. I have no, but I do think they're a lot better than they're being made out to be, and I think that should concern some people that they could potentially, you know, wreck some other teams' playoffs aspirations.
They're a team you don't want to play, right? I mean,
yes.
You know, you look at the record and you go, you know, take the Packers 7-2. You look at it on paper, going Packers play Dolphins, or 7-2 versus 2-7. Easy win not an easy win. Like, you know, they could be a banana skin for any team because they're not a bad team.
No, not at all. I don't think they are at all. I mean, like I said, so it's just one of those teams you just don't, you know, like you were saying down the stretch, you just don't want to play. Another team,
particularly in Miami,
another team you don't want to play. Another team you need to fear going into the playoffs. The killer of
the Lions,
of the killer. I'm doing a build up. Shut up. The killer of all other teams. The destroyers. The 3-6 New York Giants, 23-16 over the Las Vegas Raiders. What a game. That game was another stinker. This was another stinker to watch. If Xavier McKinney does not get that interception and run in for a touchdown, the Giants lose this game. And I know Giant Nation's all like, oh, we're going to the playoffs, blah, 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 blah. And I love it because if Derek Carr, who was uncharacteristically inaccurate, would have hit Waller was wide open in the end zone in the second quarter. He burned James Bradbury badly. Jacoby Jacobs was open in the flat in the fourth quarter, which was a sure touchdown, but Carr missed. And I said it before, I think it's a good thing for the Giant fans because we were finally on the other end of a game where the other opponent made the mistakes that the Giants usually make in the clutch. And then, of course, the Raiders are driving, and Quincy Roche, or Roach, or whatever his name is, I never know how to pronounce his name, comes up with the big strip sack at the end for Derek Carr and saves the Giants' ass for for having this game be another Giant loss. So, Tom, as a Giant fan, what are you thinking?
I mean, you know, we said we'd never do impressions on the show, but
oh god,
but David Attenborough is a treasure over here. So, you know, I just had visions of him sort of analysing the game after saying, "And here in the wild of New York, we see a rare win." You know what the best thing is?
You do an impression of someone that maybe 87%, 90% of the population has no clue what the hell you're talking about. I'm just throwing it out there.
The man's a living legend. He's one of, you know.
At least, you know, you should have done like, I don't know.
Sir David. Sir David.
Well, you could have done like Sean Connery. You could have done Batman.
His brother was Richard Attenborough, who movie fans should know. But anyway, the UK fans will know what I'm talking about, and shame on you if you don't know who he is. The man's a living legend. But anyway, it was a rare win. Defense played better. It's been poor year. It played better, but you know, Carr lost this game as much as the Giants won it, and that's not a dig at Carr. I think he's played very well. He's a quarterback we both like. He had a bad game. Stuff happens. But you're right. He could. They left touchdowns out on the field.
They left a lot. They left at least 16 points on the field.
Yeah, and what's that? 16. That's 32-23. Assuming we still get the 6-7 points from the McKinney interception, which you then wouldn't get because you're talking there. But a good win for New York. It's a win they needed, but it doesn't really change anything. The picture is still fairly bleak. But at least it gives it a little bit of a feel good factor. And hey, it will help us with the comp pick for England.
That's what I keep saying.
Silver linings. Booker ran well for New York. I think we had the right game plan on offense. We were playing one of the worst defenses against the run. They're not there, and we ran the ball well. I thought we did a few trick plays that we shouldn't have called, but hey.
Oh, the Kadarius Toney one was just a nightmare.
But if you can't run every play, you've got to do something different. Otherwise, you know what's coming. I
think everyone knew that Kadarius Toney play was coming.
Well, clearly, because it didn't go well. But it was some nice moments. For some of our players. It's a feel good factor, as I say. But 12 penalties again.
Yeah, I mean, and they had their 11th penalty on special teams. The Giants did.
And we still can't score in the red
zone. How are you how is the head coach a former special teams guru, and you're second in the league with 11 special teams penalties? What the hell, man? You preach discipline. Special teams is your thing, and you have 11 penalties.
Well, you see, if we had Nate Ebner on the field.
Oh, well, Nate Ebner. Nate Ebner.
It would have been a big different story if he plays every snap.
Well, like you, I'm going to do an impression. I'm going to do my Nate Ebner impression. That's my Nate Ebner impression because I'm basically just stealing money from the Giants.
That's gone around really well with those listening and not being able to see it.
Sit there. It's even better because I'm just not saying anything because you know what you do? You just sit there, you don't do anything, and you take money.
Yeah,
that's my Nate Ebner impression.
Start counting those green dollar bills.
And actually, people can see it because we're on Twitter. Oh, we're on the online Big Blue 1 Twitter page.
There we go.
Streaming live. Shameless plug, online Big Blue, sports entertainment. Go subscribe to it. It's an awesome channel talking about Giants. Oh, and I got a special guest. See, look, Dom does impressions. It's Baby Creed. I'm Baby Apollo Creed. See, the people now, if you want to see that, you now need to go onto the Twitter page and look at it and see what Baby Creed is.
You're selling it.
That's called social media marketing. I'm just throwing that out there, Dom.
Yeah, if anyone needs any help or assistance or advice, we are here to help.
Yeah, I don't know how much help we're going to be.
Well, no, it's really simple. We give you loads of advice, and then if you do the complete opposite, you'll be really successful.
We are
successful.
We give you loads of advice, and we do wonderful impressions. Quick, Dom, do the Queen of England.
No. Although my dad did once meet Prince Charles after he drove around the world in a Land Rover, and Prince Charles did ask them if they saw any camels, and the response was no, but we ate one. He moved on fairly quick. It's not even a joke.
I know it's not a joke, but I just figured I had to throw that out there, just kind of save you a little bit.
But there we go. But I mean, do you think, just quickly on the Raiders, they've had another torrid week off? Do you think that makes any difference to them? I don't think this is the reason why they lost the game.
I don't think it's the reason why they lost the game. They lost the game. They didn't lose the game because of their defense. They lost the game because of their quarterback, and all of a sudden he became wildly inaccurate. So, I mean, normally I think not 8 out of 10 times. I think 8 out of 10 times the Raiders would win this game.
Yeah, I mean, they've had a bad week off the field again, and it's becoming a bit of a habit down there. But I don't think this makes a big difference to this game in any way, shape, or form.
No, I don't think so either. All right, let's keep the ball rolling here. We got to jump into the Atlanta Falcons, who are now 4-4, who beat the New Orleans Saints 5-3 in New Orleans. in New Orleans. This was an interesting game because Atlanta jumped up to a huge lead. And then all of a sudden, New Orleans turns around and scores 22 points in the fourth quarter. I mean, you thought Trevor Siemian was going to have a bad game, but he goes 25 yards, 25 completions with 41 yards attempts, 249 and 2 touchdowns. I mean, I thought for a minute watching this game.
And there were a few drops, by the way.
And there were a few drops, but he also did have a fumble and lost a fumble as well. But for a minute, you really thought that the Saints were going to come back and pull this off. I mean, I think you're looking at I don't think anyone had high expectations for Atlanta going into the season. I know I didn't. I know you thought Matt Ryan was washed up, and I told you he wasn't. Matt Ryan.
I don't think I said that.
Yeah, you did. 30 attempts, 23 yards, 343. You said his best days were behind him.
No, I think I said they need to start thinking about their future, but he's still not past it. And he's not like Ben I will stand corrected if you can.
You can try to bash Matty Ice.
I think I said they've taken the most special player that's ever played tight end ever. And you're not saying that's a bad pick, but the question was, do they start to look to draft their future now because Matt Ryan doesn't have the world's longest career ahead of him? But I didn't say he was washed up. I'm pretty sure that's what
you didn't say he was washed up. You said his best days were behind him.
I think I said he doesn't have a long career ahead of him, which is not the same thing.
Oh, dumb.
We can look. If I said it, I said it. But I'm not trying to rewrite history here. But I think
you were trying to rewrite history. It's okay. It's all right. They're trying to rewrite history, and we're here on the Americas all day, every week now. So.
I mean, I'm aware you've gone fishing, and I'm biting, but I really genuinely don't think I said that. If I did, I was definitely wrong because he's not finished. But basically,
I love when you try to defend yourself.
Atlanta are not picking top 5 again, right? Not for a while, and therefore that's your best place to pick up your quarterback if you're going through the draft. And therefore, that's why I was asking whether they might rue it. But I don't think I said he was washed up.
No, you did not say he was washed up. You said his best. You said his best days were behind him.
Well, that is also true, but it doesn't mean he's finished. There is a difference. Just putting that out there. By the way, on before I dig myself in any hole,
into a deeper hole.
Well,
the good news is you've been cutting it. You've been cutting in and out for the last couple of seconds.
Keep fighting on the hook that you are deliberately dangling to wind me up. But
of course, it's my job.
But the Falcons ran the ball well, didn't they? Did you see how many yards they ran it for?
I can't. What?
Do you see how many total yards the Falcons ran the ball?
You're breaking up like every other word.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you see how far the Falcons were ran the ball, total yards?
Dom?
I'm here. Now I don't know if you're winding me up or not.
I'm winding you up. I'm screwing with you again.
No, my mate.
Hey, no cursing.
Sorry. My mate Luke said there was a problem with my mic llast week, and I actually genuinely thought it was happening again.
Yeah, the Falcons didn't run for anything. They ran for like 38 yards.
Close, yeah.
But why do you need to run for anything when Matty Ice is throwing for 343 after you said he was washed up?
Screw you. But,
no, I don't know. That's what I'm asking you.
They do. Have you ever seen a team run the ball that badly and for that little yards in a game?
Yeah, it's called the Miami game.
They don't have much. But, I mean, this sort of thing doesn't happen that often, I wouldn't,
Back in the day in the early 80s for the Giants, it used to happen all the time. There was a running back for the Giants. His name was Billy Taylor. And he went over to the USFL and played for the Washington Federals and some other team. But they used to refer to him as 2-yard Taylor because his statistics would be like that. It would be like 17 carries for 34 yards.
But a team, maybe they didn't rotate.
But that's the thing. Back in the day, Billy Taylor was the best running back for the Giants.
Yeah, there you go. But I don't recall seeing stats that low as a total running for a team. But Falcons are 4-4, better than I thought they'd be.
Yeah.
I thought they'd be 3-5 at best, probably more like 2-6 if I'm honest.
Right.
Competitive but not winning. But Simeon, as you say, I think he had a good game for the Saints. They nearly got there. Is Taysom Hill injured, by the way?
He just came off the injured reserve. This was his first week back.
That's what I thought, and that's why they went to Simeon.
Yeah.
Does Hill come back in? Because I mean, Simeon's not playing bad.
I think you got to ride the horse that gets you there, and I think right now Simeon Rice is the horse that they're going to have to. It's kind of like the Mike White scenario. You got to ride the guy that's got you there, and you just got to keep rolling along. So I mean, I think that's what they're going to do with Trevor Simeon.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing well enough.
Yeah, you might as well.
You give him a go. I mean, what does that mean for Taysom Hill though? He'd have thought this was his big chance with Jameis out.
It means he's going to sit his ass on the bench. So that's what that means.
I mean, I don't like him as a quarterback, as you know, but what's his future? I mean, for this season, as you say, he's sitting the bench. What happens after that? The
problem is when you sit down and we listen to you actually break down quarterbacks. You said Big Ben was washed up. You said Matty Ice was no longer a top quarterback, and so now you're making fun of Taysom Hill. I mean, you don't have a very good track record with quarterbacks, though.
That's true. You're also an ass.
Just had to throw that out there.
We're seeing with Atlanta in a few years when they're scrabbling around.
Oh my god!
Okay, we got it. Getting Sam Darnold out of retirement because they can't find another quarterback.
And everyone knows I'm just screwing with Dom because we got to keep him going because it's late over in the UK. It's already 10:16 his time. It's past his bedtime, so we got to keep Dom fired up. What's that?
It's past my bedtime.
I know it is. And speaking of past their bedtime, this was an interesting game. It was the Baltimore Ravens over the Minnesota Vikings 34-31. Went to overtime with the field goal. It was an interesting game from the perspective that Baltimore dropped 14 points in the fourth to tie this up. It's almost like every year the Minnesota Vikings are snake bitten. That they look like they have a good team. They look like things are going well, and they drop a heartbreaker like this. That was in Baltimore. So, I mean, they put up 34 points against a pretty good Baltimore defense. Kirk Cousins was only 17-28 for 187 and 2 touchdowns, and I've said it a million times, so those are Daniel Jones' number. He's a Hall of Famer. But it's just one of those games that, it's a game that Minnesota should have won.
Yeah.
And this is where you talk.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold this sign if it says insert Dom here.
Yeah, along with our sarcasm sign. Although you've got a button for that.
I got a button for that.
That's what she said.
Sorry.
You're going to press that one. Literally, I was like, he's going to press that one or the other one that winds me up. But yeah, I mean, look, the Vikings are a series of pressures on, I mean, they could play in Antarctica and still melt. I mean, they just seem to, manage to find ways to lose games they shouldn't. But, I saw some interesting stats on the Ravens. It's their third comeback this season when they've been 10 points or more down, and their third overtime win of the season. You have to give them genuine credit for their balls of steel. Holding their nerves and backing themselves, even though they look down and out. I don't necessarily think that's the best recipe for going into postseason. I mean, if you're coming up against a really good side in January, February, and you're 10 points down, you might not come back. But the Chiefs have done it, and they did it in the Super Bowl. Yeah. They came from behind every game. I think it was in the year they won the Super Bowl 2 years back. So it can be done. And when you've got Lamar Jackson, you've always got a chance. But So the positives are the sort of mentality behind that. The downside is you've got to stop being 10 points down because 1 week you're not going to win. But the Vikings, just a nothing side. I didn't get it. They're not a meh side, but just there's a mentality issue there with them,
right?
And they just don't seem to be able to break it. It's like, hey, we're doing something well now. How can we find a way to ruin it?
How can we find a way to screw it up?
Yeah, look, European football fans in this country will know it's doing a Spurs. It's a Spursy, and it's sort of become sort of its own sort of dictionary word, not genuinely, but the Vikings are the same. They just find a way to mess it up.
They just find a way. And speaking of a team that found a way to screw it up, the Los Angeles Rams lose to the Tennessee Titans in Tennessee 28-16. No Derrick Henry. No running game whatsoever, really. I mean, they tried to run the ball, and Tennessee did. But still, Tennessee somehow drops 28 points on the Rams. And the Rams all of a sudden just can't figure out a way to find the end zone. I mean, I thought with Henry going out, and I think everyone thought with Henry going out, that Tannehill, who didn't really carry the load. He was 19 to 27, 143, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But it was the defense that stepped up for Tennessee and stymied this team. The Rams high. Excuse me. I'm sorry. And this game was in Los Angeles, and they beat them on the road. Does this make Tennessee for real?
I mean, I've never liked Tennessee. I thought that if they won the division, it's because they were the least bad team rather than because they were the best team. I mean, on their day, you've got Tannehill, who I don't think is a terrible quarterback by any means. Above average. Derrick Henry is an absolute unit, and they've got a couple of nice pieces. I think it was the defense I was probably more worried about for them coming into the season. But I mean, this game they absolutely nailed it. Five sacks, 3 for Simmons. They generated a pass rush this week, and if they can keep that going, then they probably do stand a chance.
It's 7-2. You definitely have to stand.
And
they're
7-2. They're going to the offseason. They're going to the playoffs.
Yeah, you would have to speculate they were.
Yeah, I mean, and by the way, Peterson, you got to give him credit. Somehow managed to find a way to get it done at age 46 or whatever he is these days. But
right,
Tannehill is capable of winning games. And if they can find a way, through whatever means to generate some kind of rushing game, just so it's not all on Tannehill, then you have to start taking them slightly more seriously. The Rams, I mean, at 7-2, you still think they're going playoffs as well. But you can't afford. I've said it before. You cannot afford in that division to lose games out of division, particularly at home. It's going to cost you. It probably won't cost them the playoffs, but it might cost them the division. And at least 1, if not 2, home games in the playoffs now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm definitely.
It's not over, but you can't be affording to do that too often.
Well, for one team that is now it's over, and for another team who keeps rocketing up the charts, whose Dom had no faith in, Arizona 8-1.
I knew you were going there.
Goes 31-17 over San Francisco 49ers. I believe the 49ers are 1-10 now at home, going back to last season. So playing at home is not the area they want to play. They had no Kyler Murray. They had no DeAndre Hopkins. They had no AJ Green. This looked like this was a game that the 49ers would get right, but Colt McCoy on the white horse runs in 22 of 26, 249 and a touchdown. James Conner with 96 yards and 2 touchdowns as well. 8-1. You kept saying, I'm waiting for this team to fall. I'm waiting for this team to fall. When they go 17-1, will you finally admit the Arizona Cardinals are for real?
Well, yeah, sure, because they can't go 17-1 in the regular season. So
I'm giving them actually a win in the playoffs.
Yeah, but it doesn't count. But anyway, the Colts.
Sure, it counts. It still counts in your record.
Not in your regular season record.
I didn't say regular season record. I said 17-1.
Yeah. The Colts.
Don't screw with me. I'm awake.
Yeah, you're awake, and I'll try and outmath you, but you brought your A game this week. But Colt McCoy, by the way, 2-0 in his last 2 starts, isn't he?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, he lost. Did
he have a second game?
He had a second game for the Giants, and he lost his game. He lost that game with the Giants.
I thought Daniel Jones came back in. I thought he only missed 1, but
no,
that's a shame. But but he's exactly what you want in the backup, right? He knows how it gets it done. He's a professional. He's not the most talented, but he knows what to do, and you can build a game plan around him, and he will execute. You talk about there's lots of teams which are struggling because they can't execute. Well, you can execute with him, as you say. They were missing players,
yep.
And
They were missing almost their entire receiving core.
Yeah, pretty much, and they still
and their quarterback.
And they still won the game. You have to give it to them. And they are answering all the questions I've had about them.
Yep.
This season, you have to. I was wrong, and you have to admit that this is a team now. This was a team where I said, once they lose a game, how do they bounce back? How do they respond? Now, had they lost this game, by the way, with those injuries, I wouldn't have necessarily said, "Wow, this proves I'm right," because this was a very hard game for them to win on paper with all of those players missing.
With everything
going on. I would have been like, if they'd lost this game, I'd have went, "No, they can have a pass for this one." You can't hide behind injuries because they happen, but on this occasion, I think you could, as a one-off week, say, "Yeah, that's absolutely legit." But no, you have to say they are legitimate, and they may well carry the number one seed in the NFC.
I think they're going to. I think, like I said, 17-1, first win in the playoffs as well.
Draft, baby, yeah.
Oh no! I can't believe that explosion came in early. Oh, I'm just screwing with Dom today.
Are we back on the early topics?
We are going to wrap this up because we are going overtime like we seem to always do. We are going to try to keep this under an hour. And always what we like to do now is Dom's thoughts. Dom's final thoughts. We wait all week for this. We know you work hard at it. We know you work diligently at it. We know you have a big board that you write all your thoughts and everything that you're pondering in the week for the NFL and how everything is going to just fit. And you always come up with something big, Dom. So
draft, baby, yeah.
What do you got?
Well, I've been in my mood room all week. I've been having a look. I've been figuring it out. It's like one of those movies where the detective has got all those red,
all the lines going,
yep, string. Yep. Yeah, that's it. All tying it together. That's how it works out. And I don't just sort of think on it like 5 minutes before we switch the computer on at all. Which is why we're a bit hit and miss on these. But I mean, the big one, and we touched on it earlier. And I did have something else, but I'll save that because we're running short on time. Obviously, Mr. Beckham has moved on. He's cleared waivers. The time of recording, unless he has broken while we were on.
No, he's not. He still has not signed.
Free agent.
Yeah.
Where do you think he will end up, and where do you think he should go?
He's talking Green Bay, the Saints, the Chiefs are on his wish list. He wants to go to a contender. I would want to go to a contender too. I mean, it's you've kind of you were kind of in purgatory besides the 1-11-5 season in New York. You've had the injuries.
Threw everything out that season though. So
yeah, you've had the injuries also now in Cleveland. You're 29. You're heading on the wrong side of 30 soon. You got to go to a winner. If it's me, you can't go to Tampa. I mean, there's no way Tampa's going to take you. I honestly, which I think is funny, and no one's talking about it, and I don't think it would ever happen, but if I'm Odell, I'm going to Arizona. You have A.J. Green, who's on the wrong side of 30 as well. You have Hopkins, who is going to definitely be the alpha. You got a good quarterback in Kyler Murray, if not a good to great quarterback. You got a defense that's playing well. You got a running game. James Conner has this resurgence. You're 8-1. Why not, if you're the Cardinals, add that component, add that weapon? If you want him to be a third or fourth wide receiver, and let him return kickoffs and let him return punts. You used to do it for the Giants. Set yourself up, and that's what I think these teams need to look at. Set yourself up for the postseason. Bring him in now, and then kind of work on where he fits. And as long as he's not a locker room distraction, I think he's going to be very contrite when he comes out, wherever he goes. So, I mean, as long as you're not that distraction, I don't think he's going to be a Terrell Owens. I don't think he's going to cause an issue. I think he's going to play nice because he's also looking for a contract. So, if I was Odell, I would go to Arizona.
I think if you're Odell, I think you're right. You go for a contender, and ideally you go somewhere warm to help with those injuries. The warm climes will probably help with that. So I was thinking along the same lines, not quite Arizona, but exactly that. That's that sort of thing. I don't think he's going to be. I agree with you. I don't think he's going to be a locker room distraction. He's got to play for that contract. And it's not gone well, and he's got a reputation that might put some GMs off. But I had him going to one of the 2 LAs. That's where I'd be looking at as well. Probably more the Rams with Stafford. I think would be a better fit. You've got the experienced quarterback that can handle the personality if he does get out of line. But you're exactly right. He's going to have to accept he's a third choice wide receiver.
Yeah.
But one that can go wide receiver one if there's an injury or two, because he's got the talent still. But you want to limit his reps and allow him to be the explosive presence he can be by playing the limited snaps and getting the best out in that way. So that I had him going to one of the LAs. That's where I'd be looking to go if I was him, because as you say, Tampa's out. I wouldn't be going to Seattle because I don't think they're going to the postseason. Russell Wilson's fun, but I wouldn't be going there. Packers maybe, but it's cold.
I don't want to go to Green Bay.
You know that Rodgers isn't staying around. So I'd be looking at the Rams or the Chargers, who I think this season too early, but next couple of seasons in mind. But be interesting to see where he ends up. He's not going to cost you a lot. He's going to be near league minimum for the rest of the season.
And we all know Green Bay's icky. So
this week's icky.
Yeah, it's icky. It's icky. It's oh dear Lord. We're going to end it right there because it's icky and sicky in Green Bay. And that's any mail from the Wisconsin area can go directly to Dom at Duke of Funk. This is Tim and Dom, NFL Talk from across the pond and back. Wrapping up week number 9. Thanks, everyone, for listening.